Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy MOOD to the Z and the place to be. All right, guys. So here is going to be part one of my hip hop CD shelf by shelf collection overview. If you guys are familiar with my channel, I did this years and years ago. I don't remember when I ended, but it must have been 5, 6, 7 years ago or something like that. I did like 30 something parts, whatever. The collection has grown quite drastically over the years. Tastes have changed. There's a lot of things in the collection now that you probably wouldn't expect me to have, etc., etc. So we're going to start with part one here, obviously, and it's going to be the numbers, and then we'll go on to A to Z, and then, the other parts. So if you never watched the room tour video, I explained in that video how the collection is organized. There's a little bit of quirky things and stuff, so go check that out. So I'm not going to keep repeating myself from video to video here. So check out that video for a brief explanation on how the collection is organized. And yeah, so there's a lot of stuff to get through here. I'm not going to talk about the albums in great detail for obvious reasons because there's just too many to talk about. But yeah, with that said, yeah, this is basically the redux on the shelves. And like I said, there's a lot more to go through. So it's not going to be strictly in A, B, C, D. Some of the letters are going to have to be broken up into parts because there's just so many. Like the B's are just ridiculous. There's so many. It's crazy. But with that said, let's get into the albums. All right, so starting out here is really annoying because these stupid little shorter digipacks are the most annoying things in the collection because they don't work properly. But first off, we got 2 Chainz' first album based on a true story. 2 Chainz is a cat that I was familiar with him being featured on a lot of tracks, from Static Selecta songs and just shit that I was listening to. I always knew of 2 Chainz. I'd never checked out any of his albums until recently. I think last year is when I actually went back and checked out his albums and stuff. So I bought his first 3 records because that's how I like to do. I like to go back to the beginning and check out the albums. And I realized I actually like 2 Chainz quite a bit. I think he's actually a really dope MC. Beats are probably not for every head out there, but they are what they are. I think the dude is worthy of the record sales that he has and stuff. But yeah, no, these albums, these digipacks are so annoying because they're shorter. And they just kind of falter in the collection. They get buried. Then we got 2 Chainz' second album, which is called, if you can see on the spine there, Beats 2 #MeTime. Yeah, I think about 2 Chainz' albums, like they don't have the song titles and they're kind of vague and shit. Kind of like the album cover. I wish it was in jewel cases. I know a lot of collectors are about the jewel cases because these digipacks not only get wrecked, they just get lost in the collection, and they're not cool, man. They're not cool. I don't think I like this one as much as the first 2 Chainz album. They kind of go downhill for me, actually, and I've only ever heard the first 3 albums, so don't scream at me if they get better or not. But this one, it's definitely not as good as the first one, in my opinion, but then we got the third 2 Chainz album, which is it's a collaboration album with Lil Wayne, which is funny that it doesn't say that it is. I don't really know how to pronounce the name of the title, but it's like College Grove. I honestly don't even know. But as you can see on the back here, Wayne is all over the tracks. I think the problem is with this album is a lot of the courses on here are really, really terrible. Wayne's dope though. I actually became a fan of Lil Wayne. It took me a lot of years to get past the voice, but, I became a fan. But yeah, this one definitely is my least favorite out of the 3 Chain albums that I picked up. All right, so 2 Hungry Brothers, which is a production crew featuring the MC, 8th One. And I to classify 2 Hungry Brothers, it's kind of like their beats are very similar to like Ugly Duckling, in a sense. 8th One is kind of a nerd rapper. This is kind of a nerdy album. So if you're into like nerd rap, like Ugly Duckling and shit, this might be up your alley. It's funky. It's a pretty cool sounding album though. I enjoy it, man, for what it is. All right, so getting into that 2 Live Crew is What We Are, their debut album. We Want Some Pussy. Yeah, original album. What year did this album come out? 86, I believe. I think it's 86. Yeah, I apologize for the glare. There's really not a lot I can do about that. So to get some light in here, you're going to have the glare. But yeah, the original 2 Live Crew album, which is cool. And then we got the Two Live Crew Move Something album, which I believe was in 1988, with the terrible doo-wah ditty on it. Man, I hate that track. Ghetto Bass too. I love the Ghetto Bass. It's so dope, man. Yeah, I always like the fact they put the meg mixes, drop the bombs on here, but doo-wah ditty is just horrible. I hate when MC or like rap groups from back in the day would cover like those old kind of like pop songs and shit. Like Fat Boys were notorious for doing shit like that too. It's terrible. But Two Live Crew, good shit from back in the day. Two Live Crew, as nasty as they want to be. This is some fucking just beyond classic shit, man. Obviously with Me So Horny. My Seven Bizzles. I always love that track, man. It's fucking dope. Dirty Nursery Rhymes. Man, this was the type of shit that you like hid from your parents. You listen to in headphones. You're like, what are you listening to? I'm listening to Billy Idol. To please your white parents. Yeah, the Two Live Crew, man, nasty as it wanna be was fucking amazing. And then when this shit came out, man, oh my God. It's Nasty As They Wanna Be Part 2, Sports Weekend. This shit was like, man, the first time I heard Pop That Pussy, it had me shaking my ass, man. It was ridiculous. Oh, this album, man. I literally, I think the last time I did these shelf by shelves, I didn't have these CDs in here because I used to have all these albums on tape and they broke throughout the years. I just never replaced them until a few years back. But I'm so glad I did because, man, listening to these old Two Live Crew albums just brought back a lot of memories, man. It's ridiculous. Tons and tons of interludes, and they used to make albums, you know? It's crazy. Then we got the new Two Live Crew. This is when Buddy, name's escaping me, had left the group, so they kind of renamed it the new Two Live Crew. Not the greatest, but Back at Your Ass for the 9-4 obviously came out in 1994. It's okay. It's okay for what it is. Shake a little something. This album, what was this, like 95, 96 this shit came out, man. It's crazy. Yeah, there's no Luke on this record, I believe. It's been a while since I've listened to this, but yeah. And then this was a weird release I came across a couple years back. The Two Live Crew, it's like the original Two Live Crew, because the Two Live Crew was originally based in Los Angeles, I believe, before Luke found them and they moved them down to Florida. And then it became like basically the Miami sound. And yeah, this is like a lot of like early recordings and shit like that released on Thump Records. At first I thought it was a bootleg and I'm like, well, Thump is a legit label. So I wasn't overly too sure what the hell this was, but I picked it up anyways. And I think this is actually out of print. And I found it at my local Sunrise Records of all places. And it was like $7 or something. I was like, you know what? I got to grab it just to have it. So it's not really the greatest, but it's okay. We got Too Low. Funky Little Brother. I think Too Low was around, I want to say maybe 12 when he did this record. Early 90s, Rap-A-Lot Records release. You know, a lot of these early 90s Rap-A-Lot records were pretty easy to get. This is one that was highly manufactured and doesn't really sell for a lot, unlike a lot of the early Rap-A-Lot records that are out of print now. Sell for ridiculous money. This is when they were mass producing their stuff. In the later 90s, Rap-A-Lot Records stuff was a lot harder to get for me. I'm from a little small town in Canada. Unless it was like a core Ghetto Boys album or member. Some of the like mid-90s Rap-A-Lot Records, like 3-2, it's kind of like a holy grail album for me, which I actually don't have in this collection. Wicked Buddha Baby, when that album came out, I tried to order it. They said they could get it. They never got a copy. Could never get it. It was like Menace Clan also. Those albums were a little bit less produced. I think Rap-A-Lot Records sales were dropping or something like that, I'm assuming. So they didn't produce those. And then by the time the internet age of collecting came out, they were long out of print, super expensive. Wicked Buddha Baby is like a holy grail album for me. If anybody out there has a copy they want to sell me, like, hit a brother up because I really want a copy of that album. I love that album. Rest in peace to 3-2, by the way. But yeah, those albums were hard to get. And yeah, unfortunately, I did find a copy of Menace Clan a few years ago. So a little brief Rap-A-Lot talk there. But yeah, Too Low. Here's an album I love, man. Second to None. Fully produced by DJ Quik. So, and this album came out in 91. Yeah, you are going to get a very, very much sounding DJ Quik album. It's really dope. I love this album. It's great stuff. Great stuff. And then they did a follow-up. There was an album between, I think, I can't remember. I think it was unreleased stuff. I can't quite remember. But this album was mostly produced by DJ Quik. It's totally different sound, obviously. Being 8 years later, in 99, West Coast hip-hop had changed drastically in the sound. But yeah, classic 220. I think the DJ Quik did the whole album except for 2 or 3 tracks. And you got some AMG High C on there. They're regulars. Mossberg, rest in peace to Mossberg, which unfortunately was taken from us way too soon. That dude was dope. Second Power. Now, this is a really strange find. I'd never heard of this group before. I was in a pawn shop or secondhand store in Seattle, of all places. I think it was Seattle, and I came across this, and I was like, you know what? I have to pick this up. And I wasn't even sure if this was hip-hop or if it was R&B. Like, that could go either way. Look at that album cover. That could be R&B. That could be hip-hop. This could be from the 70s, 80s. 90s. Like, I don't know what the fuck was going on with this record. So it's from 1991 on Warp Records, and it turns out it's a group from Georgia. Now, these guys never knew what they wanted to be, because this album sounds East Coast at times. It sounds West Coast at times. It sounds down south, Miami bass at times. It's very bizarre. It's a funny listen. Soul Man. Like, I wasn't sure what the hell I was buying here, but that's what that is. All right, Tupacalypse Now. I believe the last time I did this collection overview, I had Tupac in the P's, so now it's in the numbers. You know, classic stuff from Tupac, man. Brenda's Got a Baby, that song always, it just resonates. Tupac is one of those guys that, like, you know, he was so ahead of his time lyrically and conceptually wise, that these albums are just so relevant, man. Like, Trapped. Come on, man. Fuck. That shit got him in trouble. Tupacalypse, Strictly from My Ends. Not sure if I can say that anymore. I'll just go ahead and not say it. People get pissed off. You know, a great album. Love Five Deadly Venoms on here. It's probably my favorite song on the album. I love it. The Streets Are Death Row, man. Love that track, too. Thug Life, Volume 1, obviously, just classic, man. Straight top to bottom. It's just such a shame that more of these weren't put out. Obviously, rest in peace to Tupac, to Psych, Big Psych. Rest in peace, man, that voice. Rest in peace to Nate Dogg. So many deaths, man. Just crazy. Howling Where They Mourn Me. Yeah. Yeah, classic album. I love Thug Life. This is my favorite Tupac album. Me Against the World. I love this record. I love everything about it, man. This is Tupac at his, like, down to earth best, in my opinion. I think it's his best album. It's also my favorite. Actually got the vinyl sitting right there. You probably can't see that, but it is down there. Yeah, man. Love me some old school, dude. The Grand Puba sample. Oh, it's amazing. Amazing stuff. Top to bottom. Classic. Don't really need to elaborate on that. All Eyes on Me. You know, my favorite song on the whole album is Wonder Why They Call You Bitch. I absolutely love that track. I have always been obsessed with that song. That's just my favorite song. I don't really care what the best song is, but it's my favorite. Wonder Why They Call You Bitch, man. Fuck Dolores Tucker, right? Yeah. Tupac. Death Row shit. Machiavelli. Yeah, I mean, don't really have to say much about these albums. We know exactly what these are. To Live and Die in LA, man. Such a dope song. Love Crazy on there too. Are You Still Down? I think this was still original beats and stuff when this was released. It was like it was a collabo. We all know what this is, of unreleased tracks and kind of B-sides and soundtrack songs and so on and so on. Hellraiser. Love that track. And then here's my ridiculously horrendous greatest hits album. I think I told the story before. I'd lent this out. It came back to me without the case, without the artwork, and the discs are just hacked up. I really do need to replace this just to have the artwork and stuff. So I keep it. It's the same as it was when I did this 8-9 years ago. But I do need to replace. I can just pick up a copy probably for $5 just to replace. At least get rid of those hacked up discs. I think they skip like shit too. It's not like I'm ever really popping in a greatest hits album anyways. I'm not really a big fan of greatest hits albums unless there's a bunch of unreleased stuff and new stuff on there, but all right, I digress. Tupac and the Outlaws Still Act. Wow, that just happened. Dude, I totally just dropped the shit out of that and the disc came out. So we'll fix that in a minute. And I know why, because that thing was broken. Still I Rise. Wow, look at me just wrecking my shit. Letter to the President. Yeah, you know, man, I really like this album. I know a lot of people didn't, but yeah, it is what it is. So here, we're gonna pretend like that totally didn't happen, and we'll put that back together after. Whoops. Tupac the Hereafter. I think it's like I want to say bootleg. It's more of a gray market release. You know, this was done in apparently Australia. It's got a bunch of stuff with Biggie, and it's been a long time since I've listened to this. Yeah, it's like got Stop the Gunfight and stuff on here. It's definitely like a gray market / bootleg kind of release. Until the end of time, Tupac, yeah. This is when they were kind of changing up the beats and stuff on his shit. There's some decent stuff on there though. Better Days, this is when they really just started marketing and pumping out these remix tracks, and My Block Remix, which is not good. Yeah, the original on the show soundtrack is amazing. And then Tupac's Loyal to the Game, which was produced by Eminem. I just really don't feel like these beats fit at all. It's horrible to listen to. With these new age beats, it's just not enjoyable in my opinion. This is even worse. Pac's Life. I mean, if you like these albums, that's fine. I just can't get into these beat changes and shit. It kind of drives me nuts. I'd really like to hear the original recordings. I know a lot of the stuff probably can't be released based on sample clearance and stuff, but Tupac, the beginnings, the lost tapes, the early recordings with Panther Power from his group. Yeah, I mean, I actually really like the early recordings. They're actually kind of fun to listen to. Yeah, it's the 1 in 21 release with, basically his group Strictly Dope. Same thing in the Slimline. These are like gray market bootlegs kind of thing. People have probably seen these around. The Way He Wanted It, Part 2. Machiavelli the Dawn. I have randomly come across these in pawn stores and just picked them up because I'm like, what the hell is this? Some of the shit's actually pretty good. Like, it's not bad. And then The Way He Wanted It, Part 3. Like, I think these things actually sell for a little bit of money. It's kind of interesting. I don't know where these things come from, but they're obviously gray market bootlegs. But yeah, there is obviously a volume 1, which I've never actually found before. All right, so done with the Tupac. Into the third base. The Cactus CD. Yes. Classic stuff, man. The Gas Face. With the young MF Doom. KMD. Yeah, it's classic stuff right there, man. Yeah. And then the Cactus album, Revisited. Some remixes and stuff on there. Just got to have it in the collection, you know. Their second album and final, Dialects of Dialect. There's Prime Minister Pete Nice right there. Dope album. I really like this. I'm not even sure which one I like better, but I actually really like Dialects of Dialect, man. It's good. And then this is like a Japanese release. It's a little bit different. As you can see, the third base is different color. The font's all different. You can tell because it's got that blue dot. It's like I think it's a Japanese release. I found this in a pawn shop and I was like, dude, I should just grab that for the collection. That's crazy. Then we got the Fifth Ward Boys Ghetto Dope Rap-A-Lot Records release from 1993. Undercover Gangstas, man. Look at that. So I actually had the CD given to me back in the day. And yeah, someone had, I can't remember the story. They got it from somebody. They didn't like the album, so they gave it to me. But look at that hack job on there. Jeez. And then turned out I loved Fifth Ward Boys. I was like, this is awesome. It's very West Coast sounding. It's kind of funny. And then we got Gangsta Funk. It's like a re-release, digitally remastered. I love these early Fifth Ward Boys albums, man. Good shit. Good gangsta shit. Yeah, Rated G. It's another re-release. Yeah, pretty cool. Good stuff. Then we got The Usual Suspects. I believe this was still in the 90s. Yeah, 97. They released quite a few albums in the 90s. It's pretty cool. Usual Suspects. Not as good as the previous ones, but pretty decent still. And then we got PWA, the album, Keep It Poppin'. Again, I feel like the albums kind of went downhill a little bit. This was the last of the 90s and 99. But, you know, it's the Fifth Ward Boys. Still very enjoyable. And that's it for the Fifth Ward Boys. We got a 730 album, Heaven's Computer. This is released on Mellow Music Group. Concept album. I did an album review for this years and years ago. You could probably find that in my younger fat days. Yeah, Mellow Music Group through Fat Beats and stuff. Very cool concept album. I really like this. I think it was kind of hit and miss with people, but very different. It's a very different album. Into the 7L and Esoteric, Speaking Real Words. This is actually an EP from 1999, I believe. 98, 99. Oh, excuse me. Which is kind of the first conception of Czarface, as you can see there with Inspected Deck, Speaking Real Words. The EP title track here, which is an amazing song. Fucking love Speaking Real Words. And you know what's kind of interesting? I was listening to Talib Kweli's podcast one time, and he was talking about, you know, how he linked up with 7L and Esoteric to form Czarface and blah, blah, blah. And Inspected Deck, I swear, was on drugs in this interview, because he was talking about how they met in the mid-2000s. And I was like, did I just mishear that? So I went, I was like, no, he's talking about when they first met. And I was like, not when they thought of the idea for Czarface. And I'm like, no, bro. Like, you guys obviously knew each other before, because Speaking Real Words came out, like, in the late 90s. Now, I'm not sure if he was talking about when they physically met, because that could have been just a verse that they got from him to form that song. I don't know, but Inspected Deck was a little bit mistaken. And he actually had a few mistakes in his interview about release dates. Like, he even had the release of his first album wrong. It was really strange. Like, he's like, it was released in 97. I was like, no, it wasn't. It was released in 99. It was very strange. But anyways, Speaking Real Words. Speaking Real Words, man. It's kind of the first Czarface song, technically. 7L Esoteric. The Soul Purpose. This shit is just classic material, man. This whole album is ridiculous, man. It's such a good album. So Speaking Real Words is also on there, too. But this is such an amazing album, man. Beats, crazy. Dangerous Connection, another really dope album here. Word Association, man. I always loved that track, man. Good stuff. Used to play it all the time on my radio show. It's one of those tracks people just like to hear. Bars of Death, DC Bars of Death. Not as good as their other stuff, but, you know, still enjoyable. 7L Esoteric, if you're a fan. Gotta have it. Moments of Rarities, B-sides. I think there's a couple remixes and stuff on here. I don't know. Word Association remix on here. Yeah, it's okay. And this is where 7L Esoteric's, like, the beats were insane on here. A New Dope, which is appropriately titled because of the sound of this record was just bananas. Like, it was nothing I'd ever heard before. Kind of crazy. Got some Cool Keith on there. The classic mimicking of the famous poster, and I'm totally forgetting who was actually on the I'm so stupid right now. But anyways, you guys know the actual boxing poster, classic image. Anyways, and then this was the very last 7L and Esoteric album that they ever did as 7L and Esoteric. I'm not including Czarface, obviously. This came out in 2010, and I really like this album, man. This album was good, man. It's like the way they did the spine on there is pretty cool. Yeah, there's some good shit. You see some more Inspected Deck on there. Look at all those features. Classic shit. But yeah, no, I mean, the album's not classic, but I meant, you know what I mean. People use that word too often to explain everything. 7 Gems. I love this record, man. We've got Purpose, SD-NAC, Code 9, and Tragedy Gaddafi in a group. How ridiculous is that? Got some Rock Marciano on there. Shabam Shadiq, Kill a Priest. This is a dope album. Really, really dope shit, man. From, what is it, Golden Era? Is that what it put on? Oh, no, it's Ill Adrenaline. Love that label. Good shit on there. Then we got 7 Odds, Calamity. Fuck, I can't talk. Oh my God, I'm so stupid. So basically, these guys they're like a big coalition, man. They're kind of like a Wu-Tang, kind of like a Living Legends. There's like 9 guys in this group, produced by BBZ Darney, who I love. He's like a new age boom bap producer. You guys probably all know who he is. This is honestly not the greatest. The MCs, they're okay at times. It's not really BBZ Darney's best beats either, but it's still very enjoyable, to be honest. Then we got the 9th Prince, of course, from Killarmy. Granddaddy Flow, 9th Prince being the brother of the RZA, who, oddly enough, doesn't get talked about enough. I mean, the group Killarmy gets mentioned all the time. No one ever really talks about 9th Prince's solo albums, which I really like. In fact, I think he's actually quite enjoyable. See, the RZA's on there a couple times. This is a dope album, man. That was his first one. That's actually a re-release. Then we got Killarmy Presents Prince in New York. This was the very first solo album I'd heard, and it's very different than Granddaddy Flow. Very good, though. I like it. I know some people that really don't like that album, but yeah. Revenge of the Ninth Prince. That's a terrible album cover. Still very enjoyable. Very enjoyable. And then we got One Man Army. I think this is the last album that he put out physically, I want to say. 2010. Again, with the RZA. You got Dom Pachina from Killarmy on there. Yeah, very good. Then we got we're into the Ninth Wonder stuff. The Dream Merchant 2. Producer album, as you can see. Use your pause button if you want to read all the features on there. I'm not going to read them all off, but as you can see, we got some Sean Price, P. All the usual suspects that you would expect to see on a Ninth Wonder producer album. What is the name of this album again? The Wonder Years. Shit, I totally forgot what it's called. Another produced album. Probably can't read that. It's in fancy ass handwriting. Not as good as the first one, but still enjoyable. Buckshot. Ninth Wonder. Chemistry. This is a dope album. I don't care what anyone says. This is awesome. I really, really enjoy this. Awesome shit. I always wanted to grab the remix album that the Beat Miners did, but that shit is just... I missed it back in the day, and it goes for ridiculous money now. The Formula, which is the sequel to the Ninth Wonder Buckshot album. Again, this is kind of like the quirky thing. I have a Buckshot section with his other solo albums, but of course this is Ninth Wonder under the Ninth Wonder name first. Pretty good stuff, actually. I enjoy that. I think a lot of people kind of shit on that one when it came out. And then the third one in the trilogy, I guess, The Solution, which again, they kind of degrade a little bit. It's kind of like the Ninth Wonder and Murs albums too, in my opinion. They kind of degrade over time, but still enjoyable. I'm a big fan of Buckshot, so, you know, it is what it is. Then we got 14 Karat, instrumental album. I really enjoy this. Beats are crazy on this, man. Got a tribute to Dillo on there. Pretty cool stuff. Then we're into some 38 Spesh stuff. 38 Laws of Powder. 38 Spesh. I got this directly from him, actually. He sent this over. I bought something off Bandcamp. I believe it was Sons of G-Rap, and he sent this over as a free throw-in. I thought that was very nice of him. Thank you, if you're watching. Obviously, he's not watching. Sons of G-Rap, Cool G-Rap, and 38 Spesh. This is just insane that this came out. This is dope, man. Like, really surprisingly good. Like, I was so blown away by this record. It was crazy to me. That production on there, man. Showbiz, DJ Premier, with G-Rap, Alchemist. How could you go wrong with this shit, bros? It's amazing. I put this in here, and this is actually Joe Blow, produced by 38 Spesh in The Mob We Trust. Yeah, he didn't fully produce. He produced some. So it's a combo album. But yeah, no, he did produce a couple tracks in here. Yeah. Then we got this is so dope, man. 38 Spesh, Big Ghost, A Bullet for Every Heathen. It's short, but it's amazing. Really, really highly enjoyable album from those two. This is a production album. 38 Spesh, 1994, basically his play on these classic songs. So he kind of mimics these beats, I guess, is the best way to put it. New York State of Mind, Warning, Mass Appeal. We all know the songs. Puts a spin on the beats and has some MCs on there. Pretty cool, man. I actually really enjoyed that. Then we got a couple like these fucking slim lines here. We got 38 Strategies of Raw, 38 Spesh. Yeah, these is what I'm talking about in your collection. They're so annoying. We got 5 shots. These are open. I just have the plastic on them. Because these things tend to get a little bit fucking either lost in your collection or fucking chewed up. This is actually another one that he sent over when I bought the Sons of G-Rap was Time Served. Another kind of mixtape deal. Yeah, good shit. All right, into some 50. Guess Who's Back, kind of the first album, mixtape. I don't know what you want to call this. I think theoretically it's supposed to be considered an album. It's like an indie album. It's not actually a mixtape, but I don't know. It plays out like one, I guess. It's decent for what it is. Get Rich or Die Trying. I actually went back and revisited this not too long ago, and I was like, shit, man, it's a lot better than I remembered. I was never the hugest 50 fan on the mic, but, you know, over time, tastes change, and I actually really enjoy listening to 50 on the mic. I kind of came into perspective with this kind of like monotone flow, and I don't know. I mean, it's 50, man. This is classic material for a lot of people. I think it's a really good album. The Massacre, which I think is really dope too, man. There's some really good stuff on here. Everyone knows about the Massacre. 50's albums, in my opinion, completely go downhill with every album. Curtis, again, not as good as the previous ones. This is where it really starts to fall off for me, man. Is right here. Because his last two albums, solo records, I should say. Yeah. Before I Self-Destruct. I gotta say, man, I'm not really a fan of this album. I actually just listened to this and Animal Ambition the other day again. And I was like, man, these are just... Picked them up for the collection, though. Not really great. This is like... Man, I don't know, man. He just sounds... He doesn't sound ambitious. Which is ironic. He doesn't sound hungry, which is called Animal Ambition. It's just so ironic that this album is titled that, because there's... It just seems like he's not motivated at this point. It's crazy. Whatever. 88 Keys. Death of Adam. I respect the production. Not a fan, though. I will not lie. I'm not a fan of this. I really like Redman's verse on here, though. I get what they're doing. The features are pretty good on here, but otherwise, I'm not the biggest fan of the beats. That was just a secondhand kind of pickup. 1982, Static Selecta Terminologies group together. The first one's really dope. I really like the first album. It's not like phenomenal. In fact, Static Selecta has way better stuff. Terminology has way better stuff. Together, you think that they would be a great combo, but it's good. It's not the greatest. This one, not as 2012. Definitely kind of a... It's a little bit less for me. Yeah. And then they do have a third album, I believe is vinyl only. I actually didn't really care for it too much. I know. 213, The Hard Way. This would have been an amazing record, I think, if it had came out in the mid-90s. Like Warren G, Snoop, and Nate Dogg, the original group. You know, they had a group before they became famous called 213. Went back, did a group album. In 2004? I just feel like this was 10 years too late. If this had been in the Death Row era, this would have been bananas. Bananas, in my opinion. It's still enjoyable for what it is. And we last up here for the fucking numbers, which, you know, I tried to keep this short and it's still 30 minutes. 504 Boyz, Goodfellas. This is Master P, Silk the Shocker, and Mystical's group. Mac, who was actually supposed to be part of this group, who got arrested on manslaughter charges and stuff, which is just a bananas case, by the way. I recently listened to that interview on the Ghetto Boys podcast. He'd just gotten out of jail, and he was telling the story about how he served 20 years of his 30-year sentence, and he's trying to get the case overturned because there is factual evidence that he did not commit the crime. In fact, the dude that actually committed the crime was his uncle, came forward when they first arrested Mac, and they didn't arrest him. They just said, oh, we have the guy that we want. Hence, you know, the black oppression right there, man. Mac coming up in the game. Police gotta do him wrong, man. So he spent 20 years in jail for something he didn't do. Just terrible, terrible story. And Mac is such a well-spoken dude, and the interview's fantastic. If you guys ever get a chance, check out that interview on the Ghetto Boys podcast with Willie D and Scarface. It's an excellent interview. He goes into mad detail about the case. I felt so damn sorry for him. Oh, it's brutal. But 504 Boyz, Mac's all over here. Actually, the song Beefing on this album actually is a solo Mac song. He's all over the record. Like, there's 22 tracks on here. And yeah, he's all over the record. So he was supposed to be a member. It's funny too that they never included him in the picture. Because if you look, there's Silk, Master P, and Mystical. But he was never... Maybe it's promoting the newer album, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, there's no pictures of Mac in here, which, yeah, he was supposed to be part of the group. So 504 Boyz, it's a decent album for what it is. I recently picked this up, I think last year sometime, because I'd actually never heard it. I'd never heard this album. It came out in 2000, and I picked it up for like a $5 or so. Yeah, Master P, Goodfellas, decent stuff. But yeah, so that's going to conclude the numbers. I will be back with part 1 of the A's. I don't know, maybe I'll do this whole first part until I get to the end there. And then there's a lot of A's, but then it's going to be ridiculous. It's going to be ridiculous. So if that part took 35 minutes, oh my God, I don't know. But anyways, guys, hope you guys enjoyed it. There is other numbered albums that I'm missing. Like I said, 3-2 is one. I want that 11 to 5 record, man. Like mid-90s G-Funk from the West Coast. That's one that I'm missing from the collection. 3 Times Crazy is actually Stacking Chips, their first album, I actually have on tape. I do have a copy of it, and I love that album. It's fucking fantastic. It's a great West Coast album. But I can play it. I have the tape. So you guys will see that probably in about 7 years when I get to the tapes. So anyways, guys, I'm going to put this Tupac album back together since I'm destroying my shit as I'm doing these videos. Put this back in the shelf, and hope you guys enjoyed. Leave comments. And I'll see you guys in part 2. Until then, Gia. Deuces.